According to the US Treasury, crypto use in money laundering is far below that of cash. And so in this video, we're going to look at how a detailed report on money laundering in the United States is highlighting that cash remains king for criminals looking to launder illicit funds. Today's episode is sponsored by Cake Wallet, where you can send, receive, and even exchange your crypto right from within the wallet. Cake Wallet is open source and non-custodial, so you control your own private keys, available today on iOS, macOS, Android, and Linux. And StealthEX, a privacy-centric crypto exchange which enables you to make crypto-to-crypto exchanges anonymously. Good evening everybody and a warm welcome back to Enter Crypto with me, Chris Kenyon. Now in today's video we're going to be looking at cash and crypto, and basically a statement that the US Treasury have come out with recently is in that they have said that cash is used much more for money laundering and other types of financial crimes more than crypto, which kind of goes against the narrative that we're all told by the mainstream media so much. So as always guys, let's jump into this article and then we'll comment after. So cash, not cryptocurrencies, remains the go-to money laundering method for criminals and organisations, according to a detailed risk assessment report from the US Treasury Department. 3 separate reports delving into money laundering, terrorist financing and proliferation financing unpack the current landscape in which criminal organisations acquire, launder and move funds locally and abroad. A primary takeaway is that criminals and transnational criminal organisations continue to use cash. The Treasury highlights the anonymity, stability and ubiquity of cash as a means of payment as a primary reason why it remains the preferred method of laundering illicit proceeds. Meanwhile, the report highlights that virtual asset use remains far below fiat currency's use for money laundering. Criminals use cash-based money laundering strategies in significant part because cash offers anonymity. They commonly use US currency due to its wide acceptance and stability, and the report highlights that bulk cash smuggling involving the transport of US dollar banknotes remains a popular method to launder illicit proceeds inside and outside the country. Cash is typically transported across borders and deposited into foreign bank accounts. The Treasury notes that 1,480 seizures of currency and monetary instruments were carried out in inbound movements of funds, totaling $18 million. Meanwhile, there were 1,010 outbound currency and monetary seizures, totaling approximately $53 million in 2023. The US Customs and Border Protection Field Operations Office is responsible for screening foreigners, US citizens and imported cargo at more than 300 ports of entry, and cash tied to domestic criminal activity is also transported widely on US highways. Meanwhile, US law enforcement agencies report an increased use of private aircraft to smuggle bulk cash. The use of aircraft is a more expeditious method to move currency into, through and out of the US over longer distances than by loading money into a vehicle or strapping it to a pedestrian. And the report notes that US registered aircraft are less likely to be inspected by law enforcement agencies, while small airports along the Mexican border typically lack security presence, which enables cash smuggling by air. While the Treasury concedes that the use of virtual assets for money laundering is far below the use of fiat currency and other conventional methods, cryptocurrencies are still being misused in cases involving ransomware, scams, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and other illicit activities. The section on virtual assets pays particular attention to AML, anti-money laundering obligations, otherwise known as AML, and compliance failings of crypto exchanges and service providers. It states that companies that fail to maintain AML and counter-terrorist financing controls or sanctions obligations can facilitate nefarious use of their platforms by criminals. And the article just goes on a little bit longer. I'll leave a link in the description box below, like I always do, if you want to continue reading. It's not much else to say, and it's quite a long article anyway. So you get the point. And the point is that even the US government, or in this case the US Treasury, admits that crypto's use in money laundering and whether that be to launder illicit funds or otherwise, is far below that of cash. And yet we always hear from politicians, whether they be US politicians, UK, European, that crypto is a good for nothing. It's basically just there for either pornography, paedophilia, money laundering, terrorist financing. You know, it's used for all these, you know, awful things. And in reality, all those things have used, mostly use actual cash, you know, to facilitate, you know, to use for their transactions. So it's not true. It's just not true that, you know, crypto, the majority of people in crypto are honest and good and just want the technology to prevail. And even the, you know, really private cryptocurrencies like Monero, for example, you know, as anyone who watches this show knows, I'm big on Monero because it's private by default. That's always going to attract criminals. It just is. Just like cash attracts criminals more than bank transfers, because the criminal knows that the police can't track and the government can't track a cash transaction, you know, between two people. It's not possible unless you catch them, like, you know, a video camera of them handing the cash to each other. It's not possible. So whereas a bank transfer, obviously it's all digital. They can trace it. All the police have to do is get in touch with the bank. But just because it's attractive to criminals and, you know, like crypto, like private cryptocurrencies in particular, or cash, doesn't mean the actual thing is bad. You know, it's the criminal that's bad. It's not the Monero or the Bitcoin or the cash or the gold. The government and the politicians like to demonize the asset. In reality, it's the people using the asset. They are the criminal. It's not, you know, if you are the terrorist or the money launderer, you should be the target for the police and for the government, not the asset. Because if you target the asset, if you target cash or you target crypto, then you're going to target everybody. Then everybody becomes a criminal, and that's silly. And that's bad for us. That's bad for all the good people. It's bad for the police because now they've got a much bigger job that's just a total waste of time, and they don't even know who's the criminal anymore. They're just basically saying everybody that uses this particular technology is a criminal, and so everybody loses. So this is a positive article in my opinion. It's a great thing, and it goes against the narrative that always seems to get pushed on us all the time, and so it's really great. So that's what I've got for you today, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any future updates. And I'll see you all tomorrow evening. Take care.